Welcome to the Sales Podcast, session 98, where you can choose who to lose and you can choose to be happy. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host, and this is the 98th edition of the Sales Podcast. How about that, huh? A couple of weeks, we'll be at 100. Who'd ever thunk it? I'm recording this intro on December 8th, 2014, so Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. It's also the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, so, if you're Catholic like me, you got to go to church today. So if you heard this after the fact and you didn't go, then you got to go to confession because you messed up. But anyway, listen, I've got a good guy on today, Mark Jamnik. I met him back in April of 2014 at the Infusionsoft conference, now known as ICON. And this dude is, there's no other way to put it, he's happy. He dresses in some funky attire. He's laid back. He's always smiling. And I was like, all right, what's up with this dude? He was also persistent in following up. He has an interesting business card. He had a booth there. He's making things happen. I'm like, all right, let's talk to this dude. Because you know what? I am, while I'm always one to joke and whatnot, I am sometimes pretty intense. I heard Michael Hyatt talk about this once. I think he was kind of the same. Somebody asked him, said, hey, are you happy? And he said, yeah, and they said, you might want to tell your face. And what they meant by that is, when we're buckling down and focused on things, it's just, we just have this intense look on our face. It's not that we're unhappy. I'm happy making things happen. I'm happy creating podcasts and blogging and updating my books and things like that. But when I'm in the zone, I'm in the zone. I'm not like just sitting around whistling while I work. Actually, I whisper while I work. You get it? You get it? So Mark has a little bit of a different approach, different attitude, different outlook, and that's why I wanted to bring him on. I don't want to bring on a bunch of people just like me. You already know me. I want to bring on people that have an interesting take and an outlook and approach, and Mark has just that. So I think you'll appreciate what he brings to the table. And the way that I opened, where you can choose who to lose and choose to be happy, we'll let him talk about choosing to be happy. But, choosing who to lose, I learned that years ago. A friend of mine, Patrick McCluskey, I've known him for years. We've been in a couple of technology businesses together, partnered up on some things. But, he says, great salesmen sort and sift instead of sell. And, that's a great approach, because if somebody, if you sell tires and somebody just put new tires on their car, no matter how good of a salesman you are, they're not going to buy tires for probably a couple of years. So the better you are at prospecting, the better you are at getting to hear no quickly and move to the next until you can find a yes, then the more successful you'll be. And you know what? Probably the happier you'll be. But, when you choose who to lose, you have to know who it is you can help, who it is you support, okay? Who it is that can really benefit from what you offer, and tell everyone else no. Okay, or let them come and literally beg you to do business with them, to let them buy from you. Because if you're not a good fit for a certain person and you know it, you can, with confidence, refer them to someone else, give them alternatives, instead of trying to force a deal. Nothing is worth, it's the end of the month, it's the end of the quarter, it's the end of the year. And there are people running around, excuse the expression, but dropping their drawers to make a deal. Okay, and those are the people you will regret selling down the road 9 times out of 10, okay? The bulk of your issues will come from the people that you cut deals with. So stay away from that, all right? Choose who to lose. Know who you can help, know who you can't. And you know what? If you haven't hit your goals this year, rather than trying to be desperate, okay, one alternative is to literally write the year off. And start planning on how you can launch the new year. And start it with a bang, start it with great momentum, start it with great optimism, start it with happiness, okay? And move forwardly, aggressively, and confidently into the new year so you don't end 2015 or 2016 or any year having to beg for deals, All right, so try that out. Let me know how it works. All right, so now let's move into the Sales Podcast Creed, which is today is my day. I work diligently towards my goals, which are bigger than me. I bite off more than I can chew because only then will I truly know my current limits, and surpassing them becomes my new goal for today. Through education, mastermind mentors, and bold, decisive action, today will be better than yesterday, and tomorrow will be better yet. I'm ready to produce. But before we bring on Mark, I've got something pretty cool here that I just ran across in my old useless information book. This one will win you at least one free beer, I guarantee you, the next time you try it. But the syllable O-U-G-H can be pronounced 8 different ways, as evidenced by the following sentence. A rough, dough-faced, thoughtful plowman emerged from a slough to work through the streets of Scarborough and coughing. How you like them apples? You're going to have to replay that a couple times because that is a good one. That alone was worth your time to listen to this podcast. But now it really gets good. Mark Jamnik, probably the most optimistic entrepreneur I know, all the way from rainy Tempe, Arizona. How the heck are you?
I'm doing great, Wes. Thanks for having me today.
Hey, welcome to the show, man. So we met back, about 7 months ago now, 6 months ago at Infusion Con, Icon 14. But for those that don't know you, would you mind taking a minute or two, tell the world about yourself and what makes you tick?
Absolutely. And once again, thank you. I'm humbled and honored to be a part of this. We met at Icon. I was exhibiting there for the first time, and it was my 4th year into coaching. And I'll say this, that back in 2008, we all know that the economy took a big shift. And with it, I began kind of on this whole pursuit of what are those next steps in my life. And I realized at the time that I was really running from sales because I had a couple bad quarters. And it was one of those things that I was the successful guy, and then all of a sudden, I wasn't that 110, 115, 120% to budget guy, and I got scared. And I just have realized that over the last few years is that I was running away from sales, and really what's really true about it is that that's really the gift that is really out there, and that's really what I'm here to help other companies with and help other individuals with. So it really came as a result of me going and pursuing this whole path of the hero's journey. If anyone's familiar with the Joseph Campbell element of the 3 steps of what really begins a story, and it's really the separation, then helpers appear, and then the return. And I just feel like largely over these last 4 years, as I've grown my coaching business, I've really largely come back to where it all began, which is sales. And I'm just humbled and honored to be a part of helping other business owners be able to really live the 4-hour work week by Tim Ferriss so they can enjoy life daily. And I love bringing all of the excitement and the enthusiasm of what I've learned in my journey. And it's one of those things that I think happiness is a choice, and it really gives us an opportunity to really take a look at what each and every single day, those challenges really can become our triumphs as well. So it's our best thing, and that's really what I incorporate a lot of my coaching for my clients into, as well as all the sales background that I have.
So are you running back to sales? Is that what you're telling me?
That is what I'm saying. I'm running as fast as I can to it.
Well, yeah, that's what people don't realize is that, during the conference, you just ran up and you embraced the sales whisperer. I couldn't get you off of me, man. It was kind of weird. You should probably slow that down just a little bit. Embrace the sales. Don't just embrace the sales whisperer. All right. But I appreciate your passion. It's all good.
Thank you.
So who's this guy, Joseph Campbell? I don't know him. Tell me that. What were the 3 steps? Okay,
so basically, it's there's an amazing video out called Finding Joe. It's a documentary that was done a few years ago, and there's some great actors in there. His name is Brian Johnson from Entheos, Entheos. He speaks in it, and basically what it talks about, the 3 different elements, is it's the separation. If you look at any single movie, there's always this separation where the hero basically is turned into, the unknown. Something happens. You can look at it from Star Wars. They use examples from Star Wars, from The Wizard of Oz, and all of those different things. And so as there's this separation, there's this unknown of like, what is it that I even do? And so as I left, the world of sales to go into and be all entrepreneurial for myself, I said, well, hey, I'm gonna again, not knowing that I was leaving sales and quitting sales, I was going on to the entrepreneurial world, not realizing that, hey, I'm gonna have to sell again. But I left, and there was this whole unknown of what is it to be an entrepreneur? And as I was going through that process, the second step is that helpers appear. And there's different people that you'll meet, connections that you'll meet, and just people that are willing to just see that you're out there going for it. They're out there doing this. And, hey, you know what? I know that you do this. Here, let me connect you over to this person. And then as a result of going through all of those processes, it leads up to step 3, which is basically the return, where everyone, have an opportunity to come back and share all the lessons that you learned from the time that you left to the time that all of the lessons that you experienced throughout that process. And so the movie is called Finding Joe. And it's a great, great movie because in that, there's opportunities that present itself as you're on that journey that are unique to you because it's your journey. And we all have to face our deepest, darkest fears basically in that. But as you return, you realize that all of those fears are really just yourself.
So we're afraid of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, I missed the middle there. So the separation and then the return. What's the middle?
The middle is where helpers appear.
Oh, yeah. Do they appear, or do you have to? Are they always there? You just have to recognize that they were always there.
It's a matter of being able to recognize and know what you're looking for. It comes back to that reticular activating center part of your brain, and where if you're starting to look for a new car and you like this particular model, now all of a sudden you're looking for that model, or you start to see that model every single place that you go. And so that's really kind of the same point. So that's a great example there of just knowing and understanding of saying, boy, I really need some help. So these are the types of helpers that I need. And almost magically they appear.
Every time I hear helper, I can't think of Sam Kinison on, was it Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield? Yeah. Hello, my little helper. I want to take part in the conversation. Oh, I'm going to have to link to that. That's a classic. All right, so the Great Recession hits, and you're like, oh, wow, the selling isn't so easy. Maybe I'm not so good. Who the heck am I? You start doubting yourself, and you run away. Mm-hmm. And where'd you go?
I ran largely to the coaching. I realized that, I was always, people would come up to me while I was in sales, and they would always be asking me for help. So I'm like, well, hey, I love helping. So I'm like, why might I not be a coach? And I hired a coach because I'm like, I need to figure out what's next. Like, where do I go from here? So I hired a coach, and it was funny enough that on my second coaching call, I realized that it was, hey, you know what? That next step for me was to be a coach. And I largely now realize that the whole reason I was pursuing that was because I was just largely looking to figure out more of who I was, and really connect back to the fact that I am this amazing, fun salesperson that has a blast doing what he loves to do. And he just had a couple bad quarters, and it wasn't wasn't as bad as he made it out to be.
Well, it does feel like the end of the world, though. I've been in sales since '97, and man, when you're not making sales, and there's a quota, it does feel like the end of the world. Mm-hmm. So, how do you help? Are you working with just salespeople now? Entrepreneurs. That's your space.
So it's really it's an interesting model because I'm working with the sales teams of companies. So I largely, again, the whole thing is that I really help business owners better drive their business. And so it allows the entrepreneur to really empower their team to better manage themselves. And so as a result of doing that, I work with the teams directly, and I work with the salespeople because that was really my experience. Over a decade in advertising sales is really where my experience comes from. I was selling, I told people all the time that I sold air. I sold airtime. And one of the fun things also is it was kind of around the same time that the movie The Cable Guy came out, and I was selling advertising time on the cable stations. So I was like, I'm the cable guy, So it was always, whenever I would make that cold call, I would always make it a little bit more of a warm call, be like, hey, you know what? It's Mark the Cable Guy, and not the Jim Carrey, and just had fun with it. And so anyhow, all of my experience was really working on the sales side. And as I've largely been working through the entrepreneurial side of things, I realize how difficult it is as an entrepreneur to be all of it and wear all of those hats, including sales, including marketing, including finance, including all of those product development, all those pieces. And so, as a result of being able to take a look at what my best skill set is, which is sales, and being able to apply that to help the business owner that may not have had the years of experience like I have, and they simply like being the artist, they like being the product creator, they like being the researcher or whatever that might be for them. It allows them the opportunity to enjoy life daily. So I do work with the sales team specifically and helping their team with something that I call is a dashboard. And the dashboard largely allows you to run the business on autopilot. And that's something that is addressed even within the business within the 4-hour work week. There's this phrase in the book where it's like, you have to have your business be able to run largely on autopilot. Well, as a result of being able to create this dashboard, I work with the teams on helping them identify what are those key metrics that you need to take a look at. And it's a very simple, customized dashboard. So I'll work with the business owner to set up the dashboard of what metrics he wants to keep an eye on. And then that's what I largely work with the teams with. So we'll work on those key components that are important to the business owner. So they have an opportunity to do what it is that they enjoy doing and why they got into the business that they got into in a way that's a little different than how they originally expected. And that's largely where I'm helping them do what they love to do.
So are you working on just the big picture strategy, and then if they're pointed in the right direction and he has the right people on board, things work out? Or are you getting down into the tactics on how to go about hitting those key indicators?
Yeah, so great question. So basically what we do is we really sit down and we put together a sales roadmap. And this is a 52-week program that is able to be duplicated and customized to each individual company. I created a lot of different modules, and these modules have monthly themes, weekly focus, and daily action. So to your question, we'll sit down and we'll say, okay, what are your objectives? And there's one particular...
To sell more, that's it. And the beatings will continue until morale improves. Sell. Right?
Yeah, well, largely, and here, actually, perhaps one of my biggest success stories is Jack Carrier, who owns Dog Tag Art. And Jack was introduced to me by a friend because Jack had the dream of working the 4-hour work week. And I was interviewing Jack a few months ago while he was traveling across the country. And he was giving back to animal shelters. And his dream was really to do that. We were having the conversation. He's like, Mark, I'm overlooking the Rocky Mountains in Colorado right now. And he said, this is so amazing. He said, I just came from Pittsburgh. I'm on my way down to Utah. And there were a couple other places that he was planning on stopping off back before he got back to the office in Asheville, North Carolina. And the coolest thing about it was that when he returned, his sales team had closed their first 6-figure deal, their first $500,000 deal, while he was traveling in his Sprinter van across the United States. So it was largely a dream of his to be able to do that. And so I was able to be this interim sales manager for him and his team because we have the dashboard. We created the dashboard that was really something that Jack was looking at and being able to figure out, okay, what is that overall process? So within the dashboard, there's a lot of different components. And again, that are all customized, and I do that. I make the dashboard for my clients. And what we'll do is we'll say, okay, well, step one is this. When you're going through the prospecting cycle, you need to focus in on what what key indicators are you looking for within a prospect? So how can you, if you were to delegate this to someone, how would you be able to make sure that they are able to do that? So we go through a prospect cycle, and then we also go through a sales cycle. So step 1 is you make a phone call. Step 2 is you follow that up with an email. Step 3 is you send out a letter. And then so we largely work through that whole process together. And so what it's really enables the manager or the owner to be able to do is, again, kind of take a step and look and see, engage what metrics are really important and how they're doing. And I have a quarterly meeting with each and every single one of the owners, but I'll meet with the reps typically, 3 weeks out of every 4 is how we'll typically do a lot of the coaching there.
You doing this in person, or can you do it remotely?
I'm doing this remotely. I'm out of Arizona, and I have clients literally, all over the world, from Australia to Brazil to Canada, and so it's really just there's a number of different things, and so yeah, Skype technology is an amazing thing. So I'm a Skype call away or a Google Hangout away.
Now, how open are sales managers and business owners to getting into a 52-week process? Because having been in this space, well, being in sales since 97 and training since 2006, I know that ongoing reinforcement training is best. But I know in today's society, everybody wants the instant gratification. Can I just take a pill? Can't you come in for like a half-day session? Can I send my people to you? Don't you have like a weekend boot camp and just fix them?
Yeah, right. Great question. And, anything that happens quickly in your company is rarely good and sustainable. So I like to remind them of that and really be able to kind of take a look at, we are living in this tweetable society. And so largely, I remember going through many of those trainings myself. Year after year, I would go into these half-day trainings or full-day trainings, and great content, great information, and yet largely I was pulled off the street that day. So I'm not productive that day, and I'm in training. So I'm in training for that whole day, and then I got to come back to all the things that I wasn't able to accomplish that day because I was in training. And so everything that I learned, everything that I wrote down, largely got kind of put off to the side and, you know what, I'll get to that at another time. And so I began this whole thing, I was looking at what is the real problem that I'm solving, and that and I think that this is a very low number, quite frankly, but $60 billion is spent in sales training. And I think that that's just based off of what's calculated, not what's sold online.
A year?
Yeah.
I need to raise my prices. I need a bigger percentage of that.
Yeah, and here's the crazy thing. 2% of that is actually implemented. So the way that I created the program is a way of allowing the reps to be able to, day by day, with deliberate daily action. In the Talent Code by Daniel Coyle, he talks about deliberate daily action. This is a way for them to be able to have bite-sized pieces of sales training each and every single day, and then either at the beginning of the week or the end of the week, depending on whatever really works best for the reps, and sometimes meet with them on Thursdays or however it kind of works. But what will happen is the reps will be able to go through the modules. So they'll read through the module, they'll go through an exercise, and there's an exercise a day. And the exercise can take anywhere from 1 minute to 5 minutes. But it really has an opportunity of stacking on itself. So each and every single day, you're getting better and better and better. So, I like to say that if after 100 days you get 1% better, that's 100% improvement. So that's really the whole idea, and being able to help. Back to your original question. I could tend to be a little bit long-winded here.
Dude, cut to the chase. Come on.
But back to your question about the 52 weeks. How it works is we'll work on a quarter-by-quarter basis. I have a 52-week program, but let's take a look at those first 3 months. And let's get you the results. Let's get you really dialed in. And, if the dashboard's already dialed in, or we need to kind of tweak a little bit, we'll work on that process. And then we start to build from there. But, I like to take a look at this and say, it's about results. Sales is really all about results. And when I began working with with Jack and his team, largely it was month by month. And I said, Jack, I'm here because I see this as a win-win. And so as we're going through this whole process, it's really been he saw all of the modules initially, but I said, let the results speak for themselves. And so, it is a 52-week program, and largely I feel that you must go through this because, it's like anything. You could go to the gym and work out for 3 months, but if you're not continuing to eat healthy, if you're not continuing to go exercise, that weight that you lost or that muscle that you put on largely evaporates and goes away, or it adds on, depending on what you're looking at, muscle or fat. So that's really the whole thing, and at the end of the day, this is really about the results. And being an entrepreneur, 4 years into this, you're putting your blood, sweat, and tears into this. And so I want to honor any entrepreneur out there for taking that leap and taking that and going for their dream and going to create something that they saw a need in the market for and really accomplish. Mm-hmm. So I'm largely invested in their results. And that's why I want to make sure that, even as we do this as a 52-week program, that we do have those check-ins, and to make sure that we're all on the same page. And it all has an opportunity for us to have that, the win-win-win result.
Yeah, I mean, that accountability, that ongoing reinforcement is just so important no matter what you do. I just gave a talk for a friend of mine to his mastermind group, and talking about how I write my blog, how I built it over the years, and it's kind of like sausage and law. You don't want to see how they're made. It's just, I mean, writing a good blog post. I mean, it's work, and but it's a lot of little things just done right. I mean, people keep looking for that silver bullet, and it's just not there. It's just a bunch of little things over and over and over, and stay at it, and it just compounds, and it builds. So it's great you're helping people stick with it. So do you have any like little nuggets, little tactics? I mean, any little thing like our listeners could apply, right now to improve their sales?
Absolutely. I love it. So, there's a lot of little things, you just mentioned it, and I just did a lunch and learn yesterday to a group of startup entrepreneurs. And one of the things that I talked about is, and I may quote this wrong, but it's something to this effect, but it's, go the extra mile. It's largely open, because no one really goes that extra mile. And, what I would say is just do some of those little things beyond the call or before the call. And what I mean by that is, after you have a meeting with someone, send them a thank you, thanking them for their time. And it's one of those things that you could take the time at the end of the week and write out and take a look at all the different people that you've met. And just write out, I'll tend to do this on the weekends or maybe on a Friday, because Fridays tend to be a little bit lighter, where people are starting to leave a little early or whatever. But it's a great place for you to come from a gratitude perspective. And, so maybe on a Friday, you just write out all the different people that you met that week. And you just put out all the addresses on their envelope as a handwritten thank you. And then maybe on, whatever, it could be Saturday or Sunday or even Monday morning, you could just write out a couple of those notes. And so over the next couple of days, you just send those notes. And I mean, it's a little thing, and people might not respond back and say, wow, that made a big difference. But you know what? It largely does. I remember when I was in, in advertising sales, I did that. I was working with some big agencies out of Boston and New York and kind of all over the United States. And I got some nice deals, but I wasn't getting any like multi-million dollars avails or buys. I would maybe getting six-figure buys. And I just remember on two particular occasions, I sent them a thank you note. The buyers called me up and said, I want to thank you for sending me a thank you. I mean, it does go a long way. So, I mean, that's something very minor. I would say, for someone who might be trying, that's kind of on the back end of after you being able to meet with someone. If you're trying to get to meet someone, there's a strategy that I used that really worked out extremely well. And it was really, again, coming from a great authentic place. And it was one of those things that I respect people's time. I mean, we have to all respect people's time because that's the one commodity that we all share, 24 hours. That's whether you're, a multi-billionaire or you're struggling. We all have 24 hours in a day. And so I took that and looked at an opportunity that was out there, and I said, okay, I know that I can help serve this particular client. And so I went to, I think it was like a TJ Maxx or a Ross or something, and I bought a clock. And I bought a clock, and in that clock, I also put a note, and I said, I respect your time. I'm just looking for 15 minutes of your time. Would you be able to call me at a certain time, or I'd be happy to rearrange my schedule to be able to meet with you. But, I'd love to be able to talk to you a little bit about the offering of what I can offer your company. I dropped that off, and this was actually a local company here in Phoenix, but I dropped it off before I got back to the office. I was sitting at a red light, and I looked at my phone, and I got an email from her, and she said, I'm interested. I want to talk to you. She's like, I can't guarantee that, we're going to be able to invest, but she said, this is very creative. And so I would encourage anyone to try that. And it's one of those things that when you say it, and in the letter, again, it was just very simple, like, I respect your time. Just give me 15 minutes, and I can go over what it is that I really feel like I can serve. And so, I mean, those are some simple things that you could do today. I would also say, so those are a couple things. I mean, another one that I would just say is think about the process. I'm a big fan of Joe Polish and Dean Jackson, and they have a podcast called I Love Marketing. Mm-hmm. And if you've never listened to it, I highly encourage you to listen to it. They're funny, and they have a blast, and they offer incredible advice. I mean, the advice that they offer you
almost as good as this podcast, huh?
Yeah, that's true.
Almost.
That is true. That's true. And something that Dean Jackson talks about is really thinking like a chess master. So thinking about what are those next steps beyond the next steps. And largely, I think, as a salesperson, we take a look at, okay, well, what's the best outcome? Well, to close the deal. Well, is that really realistic after the first phone call? And if you go in there thinking, man, I want to make a sale today, and you pick up the phone and you expect to make a sales call, and you make that call and you get a hold of the person, but you don't make a call or you don't make a sale, then all of a sudden you feel like, well, like I was feeling back in 2008, I felt like a failure. Instead, think about, wait a second, the best thing that could really happen is that this person wants to meet with me again. So what's the next thing that I would like for that person and I to talk about on the next meeting? So kind of thinking about, okay, looking back, and I'm not even saying that you have to make this up. You've already gone through a sales process. So I would just say go back and reverse engineer someone that you've already worked with. And how did you close that deal? Well, okay, so you had this meeting, and then you sent them this email. And you could even go back through and look through your sent emails to see what you said. So I'm not even saying that you have to come up with this whole new thing. It's like, wait, let's already duplicate what works. Mm-hmm. So I would just say that's something that I largely work with a lot of my clients on is, okay, well, yeah, whenever we talk, well, what's the best outcome? Well, I want a sale. I'm like, well, let's set ourselves up for success. And let's say that step 2 is you're able to follow that up with a great email. And you're able to, the third one is you send a letter and you offer them maybe a connection to someone. And so on and so forth. So I would just continue to start to take a look at, or some afternoon when you might be frustrated or something, take a step back and say, wait a second, how can I make this easier? And how can I really take a look at this and break that process down? So those are 3 little tips.
Very nice. That something concerns me, though, because you said, you were driving and you read the email. So are you texting and driving? I recommend that we do that. I don't know. I'm going to have to delete this podcast. I don't know,
if you replay it, you'll hear that I was stopped at a stoplight.
Oh, but how did you know the light was still red? Because you were okay. I don't know. I'm going to have to reconsider this. Kind of living on the edge there, man.
I like it. Thank you.
All right.
Yes, but you kids out there, drive safe.
Well, cool, man. This is fantastic. How can people reach you?
All right. Well, awesome. So one of the elements of what I call the home story, and this is also another component that I'll work through, my home story is to enjoy life daily, to help others to enjoy life daily. So if they'd like to go to enjoylifedaily.com, they'll have an opportunity to go and take a look at some inspiration. I have movies on there. I have different books that I've read. And also, there's also going to be something that I have, anyone who likes the page, I have a downloadable ebook for Friends of Wes. So you could go on there and like the page, and when you go into enjoylifedaily.com /Wes, you'll have an opportunity to download a book. Just basically, it's a roadmap, your roadmap for sales. And so I'd love to be able to offer that up to anyone who's listening today to kind of help them through that process of wherever they might be struggling in sales, to give them some of those tools and tips and strategies that, as you mentioned earlier, you have to painfully work through as you're going through that process. There is no magic bullet, but there are a lot of great tactics and strategies. I don't like the word tactic. I prefer to use strategy. So we'll have to remove tactic there. But, it's a strategies that really are heartfelt, that really resonate with what you can do and like what you are as a human being. How do you show up? So something that you feel compelled that it's similar to what your nature is. So there's a lot of great things that you can offer and share. And so I'd love to be able to offer that up to the listeners here.
So you saying I can't show up unshaven, hungover, and flip-flops? Is that what you're saying?
It all depends on who your audience is.
Okay, good. That's
I would say largely, though, the hungover part is probably going to be difficult for you to actually have a really good sales call. But, I would say I think the best thing, and this is one other tip or piece of mine is to just show up and be yourself, and really take a look at who that is. And there's all different sorts of assessments and tools and things like that, but really kind of understanding and showing up like that. I mean, it was fun for me to call myself the cable guy. Just the other day, I'm a huge car guy. I love cars. And I reached out to it was a prospect, and I mentioned that I use their particular product, and I'd love to be able to work with their team because I believe so strongly in what they do. But I was mentioning what car, I drive, and the fact that I use their product, and it was just fun. It was passionate. It was enthusiastic, and they called back, and we had a great meeting. And I would again say, don't be afraid of who you are, and really authentically lead. And that's a very much an uncovering, and it's something that I think we all are on the ongoing process of doing. And that's largely why I wanted to start off with that story of where I began. And it was one of those things that I wanted to look a certain way, I wanted to act a certain way, I wanted to be a certain thing, and run away from really who I authentically was. So again, just if there's a last tip there, it would be just that. It would be to be you and be comfortable with that and show up, and I promise you, your prospects and clients will appreciate that. Maybe not hungover and flip-flops, but
hey man, I don't know, I'm kind of fun that way. But hey, thank you, sir. This has been fun. I appreciate you coming on. And everybody, remember, enjoylifedaily.com /Wes and get your goodies. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Wes. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Take care.
All the best.
There you have it. What did I tell you, huh? Told you he's a happy dude. That was some great advice from Mark. If you want to get the notes to this, visit thesaleswhisperer.com /Mark. And it's MARK-Jamnik. And it's JAMNIK. Mark-Jamnik. You can get the notes, review of everything we talked about. And he's mentioned that free giveaway. You scroll down to the bottom, and there's a link there to visit his giveaway. And you can also please share the love. Ask any questions you've got. Forward this email, this podcast to friends and family that need a little uplifting note this holiday season. And you know what? The rest of the year as well. And feel free also. I include in each of these podcasts a little thing called click to tweet. And it's literally you click it, and that little sentence, a little blurb there will go straight to Twitter, and you can confirm that it looks the way you want, and you can publish it. So super simple to help get the word out. It's really all I ask when you listen to these is to just, if you like something, share it. If you have questions, if you want Mark or myself to expound upon some point, some topic, we're happy to do so. Right there on the saleswhisperer.com site under each of the podcasts. So, tune in, plug in, engage, ask your questions. There is no dumb question, literally. I'm happy to help, happy to enlighten you as best that I can, if I can. I can always make something up, right? It'll sound good. But no, I mean, I will find you the answer if there's something you need help with. So, again, visit thesaleswhisper.com/Mark-Jamnik. And then if you are looking for ways to grow your sales, please visit 30daysalesgrowth.com. Enter promo code podcast, save $30 on that little program, and you can grow your sales in the privacy of your own home right now, guaranteed. So with that, I will leave you with the parting words of remember to sell different.